Hi everybody, this is Angie from Tourangie.com, and of course I'm recording a little video in Bluefield, West Virginia. Right now I'm on Albemarle Street. I'll be taking a right up Washington, then back up Toledo, back down Fairmont, back down Washington to College, and then I'm going to go up Jefferson. I have two purposes to this video today. Someone had reached out to me probably about a year ago about going up Jefferson, but coming to a stop or slowing down in the middle of the hill and trying to start again. This person said it scared them when they did it, and that their tires would spin because the hill was so steep. And they wanted me to see if it happened. Well, wanted to see if it happened to me. I've never stopped on Jefferson Street or even really slowed down on Jefferson before. So I thought, well, I'll give this video a shot and we'll see how it goes. But like I said, I'll point that out when I get over to Jefferson. Right now we're getting on Toledo. But I wanted to also do more talk of the decades. Basically, a 1993 article in the Bluefield Daily Telegraph came out, and it was a huge write-up of the history of Bluefield split up into decades. And also not just of Bluefield, but also of the Bluefield Daily Telegraph. So I'm to the 1950s, and that's the article I'm going to read to you today from the Telegraph. That's basically the peak of Bluefield, but towards the end of the 1950s was when things slowly started to go downhill for population and the coal mines. So let's get to reading this article, and I'll point out when I slow down on Jefferson. Bluefield at its peak in terms of population, power, energy, and strength. The 1950s census revealed that 21,332 people called the city of Bluefield home. But for hundreds of thousands of others, the city was the cultural, social, mercantile, and commercial mecca of the region. Bluefield was packed with hundreds of businesses, each vying for the attention of the hordes of people who came to nature's air-conditioned city for everything under the sun. While 21,000 souls called the city home, there were thousands more just outside the city limits, in Brush Fork, Bluewell, Green Valley, with an incredible 100,000 people living in neighboring McDowell County. Through the week, the city's constant hum of workweek business and commerce activity gradually built as the weekend drew nearer. Then on Fridays and Saturdays, the crescendo exploded into a roar of voices, horns, and engines as locomotives brought passengers from throughout the region, and Jack Craft's consolidated bus lines carried hundreds more into the city that never slept. The Daily Telegraph recorded the vibrancy of the community. Colorful personalities began to emerge from the relative obscurity of the inner pages and burst out onto the front page. Names like Sid Barksdale, Virgil Stubby Currents, Johnny Mayo, June Grubb, Tiny Thompson the Elder, Mel Barnett, and Dick Wesley became popular in their own right as national correspondents like Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite. Theirs was a world full of excitement, mystery, and intrigue. It was so far removed from the realities of coalfield life in a very peculiar sense. Reporters, especially newspaper reporters, although in time the same could be said for radio and television reporters, were revered like modern-day rock and roll stars. Journalists, famous for their bylines on significant stories, sometimes could draw a crowd just by attending an event. So over the next 30 seconds, you can watch in the video, I slow down in some places steeper on this street just to see how hard it is to get going again, because that's what somebody wanted when they reached out to me in the videos. So you can see it. I do have difficulty starting back up from being slow, but it's not terrible. Anyway, you'll see it now. Basically, it's coming right up here. But let's get back to talking about the 1950s. But that fever that gripped Four Seasons country at the beginning of the decade began to slowly erode. Hugh Ike Schott passed away in 1953, and the leadership of the newspaper was passed into the capable hands of his son, Hugh Ike Schott Jr. The Schott power continued, and the family influence grew. While it seemed relatively insignificant at the time, at mid-decade, the N&W Railway converted the coal to diesel power. With this conversion, one of the four major local markets for coal disappeared. During the same time, natural gas and electric started to make significant roads into home energy consumption sources. The direct contact sales for coal was gradually vanishing, which essentially eliminated the need for small volume local brokers. Finally, despite the fact that the UMWA had gained tremendous power throughout the coalfields, the power of mine mechanization would ultimately prove itself even greater. Thanks to a strong leadership, miners were being compensated more adequately for their work, and safer working conditions ensured. However, fewer people were needed to mine greater amounts of coal. That part of the equation would ultimately change the nature of the region for the next 4 decades. Okay, that is all for this video, basically. We'll be doing a few more videos here in Bluefield, West Virginia, and of course, I've got a lot for Bluefield, Virginia. And if you heard some weird noises while I'm re-editing my voice back in here, yes, my dog is sleeping right beside me, snoring. So I couldn't bear to wake him to disrupt the videos, so you may hear a doggy snoring in the background. This is Angie from Tourangie.com. Come to my website, read my blogs, make appointments so I can help you plan your next travel adventure. I hope you enjoy learning some history. Talk to you later.